So, I've had some time to think about the trailer for the newest Paper Mario game in the franchise. Right after my analysis video, I took the next day off to both regain my energy and think more about what this means for the future of the series. I hinted at the making of a thoughts and opinions video at the end of that analysis, and that's basically what this one's going to be about. I've wanted to make Paper Mario related videos for quite a while, so now seems like the best time to start. If you want the TLDR of this video, the title pretty much summarizes my opinion. I'm both excited and concerned. Why? Well, that's why this video exists. First things first, I'm like 99.9% sure that this was intended to be a Nintendo Direct. There are a couple reasons why I think that. Aside from Animal Crossing and Xenoblade, 2020 has been a very dry year for Nintendo. The only way I could see this not being in a Direct is if there were simply too many games being announced and talked about, which clearly isn't the case. And I don't think it only has to do with the current situation in the world, although that certainly does play a factor in it. But lots of the big games are still being worked on, examples being Metroid Prime 4, which was scrapped and redone from the ground up, and of course, Breath of the Wild 2. Nintendo might just be too busy with all those bigger projects, and therefore less stuff is planned to be announced for 2020. The second reason I believe this was planned to be in a Direct was just how much information wasn't present in the trailer. Like, if you go to the game's website, they give you more information such as the introduction to the game and the names of the characters. For example, this one appears to be named Mario. Wait a minute. That's the name of the game. Paper Mario. I did reference this site in my analysis video, and that's how I found names for the Origami King and Mario's new companion. By the way, those names are King Ollie and his sister Olivia. But this is exactly why I think the game was going to be in a Direct. You know how sometimes there's a trailer which plays only to be followed up by narration of the basic plot of the story? Yeah, that's what I think. All the details on the website were going to be discussed after the trailer in a very brief presentation. In the time between the release of my analysis video and now, I've even found some additional footage not seen in the trailer. So, while I break down my opinions on the game, I'll make sure to address it. Some of it definitely changes what I think at the moment. Okay, so, before we even get into the trailer of the game, there's something I noticed right off the bat. Nintendo treated this announcement as a big deal. I say this because back in 2016, when we were all hoping the next game would fix Sticker Star's issues, Color Splash for the Wii U was just casually dropped in the middle of the presentation. I'm not even joking. In fact, I'll play the clip right now.
You can look forward to playing Lost Reavers in the open beta version coming soon to Wii U. Next, let's paint the town red, and just about every other color. In the Paper Mario series, we always challenge ourselves to bring something fresh to the action-adventure genre. And this time, in Paper Mario Color Splash, the theme is colors and paint.
You have to understand that back then, a new Paper Mario game was a pretty big deal. Unfortunately, Sticker Star had abandoned a lot of what made the games great, such as a compelling story, partners, and the battle system. While Super Paper Mario was a different approach to the franchise, acting more as a platformer, there was enough there to make a solid game. Other people think differently, but I personally enjoy the writing and gameplay. But it was clear that Nintendo's vision of the series was completely different from the fans. In fact, the genre of the game switched from role-playing to action-adventure.
In the Paper Mario series, we always challenge ourselves to bring something fresh to the action-adventure genre.
And the announcement for the next game was just dropped out of nowhere in the middle of the Direct. No build-up, no we have one more announcement, it just happened. But Origami King felt different. It had that presence that the series should have, and that can be seen by simply watching the trailer. It feels like Paper Mario is back on the right track. Honestly, if not for the Switch's success and Nintendo's recent track record, my hopes for the series becoming good again would be non-existent. There are multiple reasons why I believe this game may return to the roots of 64 and Thousand Year Door, all of which come from the trailer. At the same time, there's a chance this game will continue down the Sticker Star and Color Splash route. It goes without saying that no matter how good or bad this game ends up being, it's going to sell extremely well. I mean, it's Mario. Pokemon Sword and Shield were infamous for their development choices, though despite its controversy, sold 2 million units in Japan in their first 3 days on sale, surpassing Super Smash Bros. Ultimate as the fastest selling Switch game in that region. And by the start of this year, over 17 million copies have been sold worldwide. One might think that the extremely low sales of Color Splash means the next installment will underperform, but all we have to do is look at the sales chart. Each game released shows an increase in sales until Sticker Star. The number of copies sold were essentially halved, but Color Splash had it worse, selling around 1/13 of the 3DS title. It's no coincidence that Super Paper Mario is the highest selling game, since over 100 million Wiis were sold in its lifetime. Meanwhile, the reason Color Splash's sales are so low is because only 13.5 million Wii U's were sold, making it Nintendo's worst selling console. Origami King is definitely going to sell, maybe even more than Super Paper Mario. This game will pretty much tell us whether the series will go back to its roots or continue down the current path. But there is another possibility. I've seen many people say that this game appears to be a mix between the style of Color Splash and the battle mechanics of the originals. I definitely agree with this, and there's bits of the trailer which imply this to be true. Before we get into that, I want to briefly explain the differences between the first games and the ones we've gotten recently. First off, the story. Now, Mario games have never been known for their compelling plots and excellent writing. The series tends to prioritize its gameplay over story. It's why a lot of Mario games simply consist of Peach getting kidnapped by Bowser. The first game in the Paper Mario series stuck to this idea, but its execution was excellent. In my opinion, a part of that was due to the perspective switching in between chapters. You got to experience the adventure through both Mario and Peach, and while her segments aren't the longest or most exciting, it helps add a bit more depth to the game's rather simple plot. And because everyone loved the idea of Peach's castle being ripped from its roots in the opening, Nintendo thought it would be a great idea to reuse it for other games like Super Mario Galaxy and, funnily enough, Paper Mario: The Origami King. The next games would take this premise of a simple plot and improve on it drastically. In fact, the main antagonists for the following two games were completely new characters. Bowser was still in these games, but his role was adjusted, even teaming up with the heroes in Super Paper Mario. These games got surprisingly dark with the resurrection of demons to the literal end of all worlds. Sticker Star and Color Splash, on the other hand, yeah, it's the same old Bowser kidnaps Peach and does evil things for the sake of being evil. There's no charm like 64, no twist like the Thousand Year Door, or the sentimental moments of Super Paper Mario. It's just the generic, boring plot of any other Mario game. Don't get me wrong, most Mario games can get away with this because what they lack in the plot, they make up for in gameplay. And that's why Sticker Star is a complete mess. You'll understand why later on. The second part of the games I want to talk about is both the characters and overall writing. I consider this different from the story since the writing includes the dialogue not necessarily vital to the plot. Paper Mario has always been known for its humor, especially when the perspective switched to Bowser in Thousand Year Door. Nothing about Sticker Star's writing felt memorable to me. I will give Color Splash some credit because from what I've heard, that game does have some great moments thanks to the writing. But it's not perfect, and that's because one of the things good writing depends on is memorable characters. Something that the first three games were filled with. The partners obtained were of the usual Mario enemies, but unique in their own ways. Each one had their own designs which oozed of charm. Even other characters, such as the Great Adventurer Colorado and Flavio, a cowardly pirate obsessed with treasure. They even had a group meant to be a parody of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Meanwhile, the 3DS and Wii U version suffered from the generic Toad syndrome. To be fair, Color Splash gave these characters their own unique dialogue, even making fun of the fact that they were all toads. But they lacked that character design seen in the original games. And even then, while games like Thousand Year Door had a lot of toads, they were given different costumes and colors to stand out. It makes a game like Sticker Star look so lazy with its development choices. What's funny is that Super Paper Mario was very different in comparison to the first two, getting rid of the battle mechanics you'd expect from a turn-based RPG and focusing more on platforming. But the reason that game gets away with it is because of its story and characters. In fact, I would go as far as to say that it has the best plot and characters of all the games. It's a perfect example of being different, yet still feels like it belongs within the series. Another aspect of the games which changed drastically is the world. 64 and TTYD felt like they took place in a living, breathing world thanks to its layout. Every area was connected in some way to the main hub, which made the locations feel bigger and more natural. Almost every chapter had a town or settlement close by, never making it feel empty. Whether it was a colony living within a giant tree or the floating city of Glitzville, every location felt new and fresh. Admittedly, Super Paper Mario began to change the style, but Sticker Star and Color Splash had it the worst. Now everything was accessible via a world map, which made it all feel completely disjointed and unorganized. The chapters in these games got the Dark Moon treatment, essentially splitting up the levels into different chunks. It feels less coherent, and while Super Paper Mario did the same thing, bits of narration in between the segments reminded you that the levels within the chapter were all linked together. It was a journey to the end goal. But, like I mentioned before, the execution of the world in the first two games was the best. Last but not least, it's time to address the Fampy in the room. The combat system. The first two were more of a traditional turn-based RPG. You and your partners had access to several commands, whether it be Mario's boots or hammer, and the special abilities of your partner. There was a full-on level system in which the experience gained was through star points, and the leveling up allowed you to increase your health, flower, or badge points. If the player wanted to do something other than a basic attack, that's where the flower points came into play. And the badge points allowed you to equip a varying quantity of badges so long as you had enough points to use them. This was one of the best parts of the combat since a player could essentially create their own custom loadout before entering a chapter or its boss. Many badges existed, such as adding extra attacks for Mario, upping his attack or defense, or increasing the amount of coins earned per fight. It's fun to mess around with them and see what combination best suits you. Or you could choose to simply upgrade your health and flower points, allowing Mario to take most hits but limits the damage he deals thanks to no buffs or extra attacks. Completion of a chapter gives you a special ability which can be used if the player has enough star power. It's difficult to restore this gauge, so you can't rely on it to carry you in battles. Well, unless we're talking about Power Lift. These moves have more of an assist role, especially in boss fights. Or, if you're up against a full room of enemies, it's very useful to use when you don't have any HP or FP left, or if you just can't be bothered to wait for you and your enemies to attack. Lastly, the battle partners. 64 and TTYD had a handful of companions which joined Mario as he visited the worlds and completed the game's chapters. Their use in combat varied, from attacking enemies that Mario couldn't reach, to increasing his stats, even healing him or stealing items and badges. It added that extra layer of depth to not only the battles, but the story. Since there are around 7 or 8 partners, the dialogue you get in the story depends on which character is out. It's interesting to see what each one has to say. Even now, I don't think I've seen all of it, and I've played through these games multiple times. But now it's time to talk about how Sticker Star and Color Splash handled their combat. Again, I've only played around an hour of the latter, so I'll focus mostly on Sticker Star. It's honestly baffling to see just how much changed once this franchise migrated to handheld. Sticker Star has no leveling system, and at best you can find HP up hearts which increase your maximum health by 5. And honestly, I think it's a very good reward since it encourages the player to investigate every nook and cranny. The problem arises once you realize the lack of both flower points and badges. Instead, Nintendo went with a new sticker mechanic where you could collect them in the overworld and use them as individual attacks. Or you could buy them in shops, using the ludicrous amount of coins you get on an average playthrough. There also exists theme stickers, real-life objects that can be turned into usable stickers for either puzzles or combat. The problem is, unlike other titles, there's no normal jump or hammer attacks. And with no equipable badges which could add extra moves for Mario to use, it's essentially using items to battle. Don't get me wrong, items did exist in past games, but it was added on in addition to the basic attacks, badges, and special attacks. It simplified the combat when it was already easy enough to understand. But the worst part is, without the use of a leveling system, it made battles in Sticker Star worthless. All it would do is waste stickers which could be used for boss battles. At most, you could battle to get more coins, but there already were enough in the overworld to the point where it was useless to even try. We've already discussed the game's problems with the story, characters, and world design. You'd expect all this to be made up in the combat, but unfortunately the battles are just as bland. I'm not really a fan of the boss fights either. Many of them have a specific weakness to a specific theme sticker which you'll only know about once you first do the battle or through a guide. And once you know this weakness, the boss becomes way too easy. On the other hand, you can choose not to use them. However, these bosses have so much health that it will take forever to finish. It's been a while since I played the game, but I recall having to use certain stickers for certain occasions, and it was not enjoyable. It makes the fights unnecessarily cryptic, and the last thing I want to do is backtrack to find that one sticker I need, or to stock up on more powerful stickers only to return and have another go at the boss. I remember one with Bowser Jr. where I got destroyed by him just because I didn't have the tail sticker, which is almost a requirement needed for the battle, and there were no hints of me needing this item until I got into the boss fight. I will say that Color Splash did make things a bit better. There was more of an incentive to battle because you got special paint, which once enough was collected would increase your max paint capacity. There's also a museum where the player must collect every card, and some require you to battle as a means of getting that enemy card. And of course there's coins, but getting them in the overworld seems like the best option. At the very least, the battles weren't pointless. But what about the partners? Good question, with an equally good answer. What partners? Neither Sticker Star nor Color Splash has you teaming up with a variety of characters used to battle, which really sucks. There isn't much else I can say since I can't discuss something that doesn't exist. I do want to point out Super Paper Mario, however. It also abandoned stuff like badges and turn-based RPG elements, however it still had a leveling system which increased the player's HP or their attack, and guess what? That game also has partners. With these points fully explained, it's time to look at what side of the fence Origami King may fall under. The fact that Bowser isn't the main antagonist is very promising. This would have been the third game in a row to have that, which when you compare to the rest of the series is pretty sad. I can't say much else about the story since we only know the premise of it. It's a journey to Peach's castle, while most likely destroying the streamers one by one at the different worlds. What about the characters and overall writing? The good news is, the few Toads we see have different colors and costumes. I joked in my analysis video about the reuse of this NPC similar to Sticker Star, but at least it's a step forward. In terms of original characters, the only ones we see are King Ollie and his sister Olivia. The rest are enemies you'd normally find in any Mario game, but with some changes. First one is obvious. Many of the characters have an alternate origami form. I don't necessarily consider that a unique design since it's something most characters have, but it's better than nothing at all. And while Bowser is present, he's folded up, which I find to be hilarious. And then there's the Toads without faces. Again, it's the same characters, but with small adjustments, so at least an attempt is being made unlike Sticker Star. I'm saving this Bob-omb to talk about later. Don't worry, we'll come back to it. And honestly, I'm not too worried about the overall writing for the game. It's something that many have considered a positive for Color Splash, and the clips I've seen of the game do make me at least want to try it out. Which, by the way, will be streaming in our Paper Mario Marathon on the channel. I've heard from those that played Color Splash that the majority of characters were generic Toads, but they all had unique personalities and dialogue thanks to the game's writing. Origami King looks like it will have those unique personalities and dialogue, but I'd just like to see some more original character designs. Either way, I have some high expectations for the game's overall writing. The world itself is an interesting topic. A quick glimpse of Toad Town gives me hope that there will be no world map. Instead, this location will act as the Rook port of the game, and that's based on what we see from this shot. There's both a south and northeast entrance, as well as docks and a cable car. We have a shot where Mario is sailing across the sea Wind Waker style, most likely from the docks of Toad Town. And this part looks like we're riding a cable car, also from Toad Town. Each path could be connected to a different world. The game even appears to have a fast travel system similar to the pipes from the underground of 64 and TTYD. Currently, we have 2 confirmed towns in the game. Toad Town, and this part of the desert level, which is inhabited by Sniffets. It's very possible this world will feel as alive as the first 2 games. The very fact that there's a scene taking place on the trip to what I assume is the mountain world backs this up. If this was a world map, Mario would have just been warped over there. Of course, it's still possible that the levels are divided similar to Sticker Star and Color Splash. Nintendo might have just conveniently left it out of the trailer. Again, I hope that is not the case. Wow, MBC, you seem very optimistic about this game. Why are you both excited and concerned? Good question. It's because, even if they do a decent job at all of the above, combat has been the biggest issue with the recent games. It's what will either make or break Origami King. At the moment, it appears to be a mix between both styles. The crowds from Thousand Year Door make a return, but whether they'll have an effect on the battle or are there purely for aesthetics is currently unknown. There's some additional footage from the Japanese site which helps give us an idea of what path the combat is going down. To the left, we can see what appears to be the battle menu. It translates to the following: Actions, Items, Mario's Boots, and Mario's Hammer. The fact that there's an item menu speaks volumes. In Sticker Star and Color Splash, the default attacks were items. The trailer shows Mario using a shiny boots attack. It's very possible the hammer and boots will be upgradable similar to the classics. Something noticed at the time of making the script is the difference in the amount of spectators from battle to battle. The audience of Thousand Year Door would grow the more successful action commands you did, and more people meant more star power gained per move. That means this detail must have some relevance to the battles for Origami King. The existence of badge points, special moves, or a leveling system in general is not known. At the very least, combat doesn't appear to be based on disposable attacks like stickers or cards, but we'll see. The new combat system, which is quite literally a turn-based RPG, looks interesting, and while I don't have much to say about it, I hope it's not some gimmick that in reality is bland. Last but not least, the partners. We see Mario followed around by a Bob-omb, and many take this as a 100% guarantee of battle partners. But this could be story-related and have nothing to do with battles. This has been done before, so assuming these characters will fight alongside Mario is jumping the gun. With that said, GameXplain uploaded a video of the Chinese trailer which was later taken down by Nintendo, and it shows the Toad scene from the trailer in the battle. It's not clear if this means he will be a battle partner, however something else worth noting is the menu down here. The translations are hint, help/support, and run away. Since it's a picture of a Toad, maybe it even relates to the crowd. Currently we have a few possible battle partners for Mario: Bowser, the Toad, a Koopa, and of course this bomb. We see him accompany Mario in several different parts of the trailer and some screenshots. More importantly, he is without a fuse. This subtle change in the design means he could be the equivalent of Bombette or Bobbery. If battle partners did return, it would greatly help with this game's appeal to fans of the first games. So overall, I'm excited to play this game, but the track record makes me worried because the last thing I want to do is get my hopes up. I'm not saying this game must be the same as 64 or Thousand Year Door. I highly doubt that Nintendo will completely revert back to the classic style, but the very least this game can do is show that they are listening to the fans. Origami King has the chance to bring back the series on the right track, but we'll just have to wait and see. Oh yeah, there's one last thing I want to quickly mention. As much as I dislike the direction the series went, I still think the soundtrack is top tier. I just wanted to point that out. Thank you all for watching this video on Paper Mario. I hope you enjoyed it, as the past couple videos have been very different compared to what I usually make. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more, and links to my Twitter and Discord will be down below. Thank you to my patrons, as your support is appreciated. I've been NintendoBlackCrisis, and I'll see you all next time.